In 1951, a simple suggestion box at Toyota would accidentally unlock a secret that rewires the human brain for success. It started with workers complaining about mismatched screws. But what happened next would save Toyota nearly 10 years of human labor with a single innovation. And the strangest part? The technique they discovered works in just 2 minutes a day. Picture Japan, 1947. The country lies in ruins. Factories are bombed out shells. Resources are so scarce that workers have to improvise everything. Into this wasteland steps an unlikely hero, W. Edwards Deming, an American statistician with wire-rimmed glasses and a briefcase full of radical ideas about quality control. The Japanese executives who gathered to hear Deming speak were desperate. Their Made in Japan label was synonymous with cheap, disposable junk. But Deming wasn't there to lecture them about working harder. Instead, he taught them something that seemed almost too simple to work. Focus on tiny improvements, Deming told them. Plan, do, check, act, repeat. He called it the PDCA cycle, but the Japanese would transform it into something far more powerful. At Toyota, a young executive named Taiichi Ono was listening carefully. His company was bleeding money, and American car manufacturers seemed impossibly ahead. But Ono saw something in Deming's approach that others missed. What if, instead of trying to copy American mass production, they did something completely different? In May 1951, Toyota launched their Creative Idea Suggestion System. It was revolutionary because it asked every worker, not just managers, to suggest tiny improvements to their daily tasks. But then, everything changed with something as mundane as a screw. On the assembly line, workers kept grabbing the wrong screws from identical bins. Metric screws were mixed with imperial ones. Cars rolled off the line with mismatched parts. Quality inspectors caught some mistakes, but others made it to customers. The defect rate was climbing, and traditional solutions, more training, more supervision, more checking, weren't working. Then, a line worker made a suggestion that seemed almost embarrassingly simple. What if they just colored the bins? Blue bins for metric screws, red bins for imperial ones. The bins were also repositioned, so workers naturally reached for the right one based on the car model. The result? Defect rates dropped to nearly zero overnight. This wasn't just about screws. This was about something the Japanese called kaizen, literally meaning change for the better. But here's what most people get wrong about kaizen. It doesn't actually mean continuous improvement in Japanese. That's a Western interpretation. The real meaning is simpler and more profound. It's about making things just a little bit better right now. Toyota's workers began suggesting hundreds of tiny improvements. A tool moved 6 inches closer. A parts delivery system that saved 35 seconds per car. Process changes that eliminated a single unnecessary step. Each change seemed insignificant, but they were compounding. By the 1960s, something remarkable was happening. Emperor Hirohito awarded Deming the Order of the Sacred Treasure, one of Japan's highest honors for a foreigner. But the real recognition came from the marketplace. Japanese products were no longer jokes. They were becoming the global gold standard. Mike Morrill discovered this power in 2017, but in his own living room. As a business leader, Mike had watched his team implement 150 micro improvements daily at work. tiny process tweaks that transformed efficiency. But he was coming home exhausted, his relationship with his fiancée Barbara strained by work stress. Then Mike had an idea. What if he applied Kaizen at home? He and Barbara broke their life into 90-day cycles, focusing on tiny daily improvements to their relationship. Not grand gestures or dramatic changes, just small, consistent steps forward. 3-day weekend planning sessions, daily check-ins that lasted minutes, not hours. Simple rules like high-frequency reviews of what was working and what wasn't. The transformation was immediate. Instead of banging their heads against the wall with big relationship goals that failed, they were evolving together through dozens of micro-improvements. They had discovered what the Japanese workers learned decades earlier. Small changes, consistently applied, rewire everything. But how does this actually work in your brain? Meet Jelle Smits, a self-proclaimed master procrastinator. Jelle faced what he called big, nasty tasks that paralyzed him completely. Important reports that sat untouched for weeks, exercise routines that never started, cleaning projects that grew into overwhelming monsters. Then Jelle discovered the 2-minute rule, Kaizen's secret weapon for individuals. Instead of trying to tackle big projects, he committed to just 2 minutes. 2 minutes of wiping counters after dinner instead of massive weekend cleaning marathons. 2 minutes of outlining a report instead of trying to write the whole thing. Here's what happened that surprised him most. Those 2-minute sessions kept going. 2 minutes of counter wiping became a full kitchen clean. 2 minutes outlining a report became hours of focused writing. The momentum was unstoppable because it had started without resistance. This is where neuroscience meets ancient wisdom. Your brain is wired to resist big changes because they trigger fear responses. But tiny changes? They slip past your mental defenses completely. Toyota discovered this accidentally with their Dougal innovation. Workers created a simple device that delivered parts directly to the assembly point, eliminating wasteful movement. It saved exactly 35.1 seconds per car. Insignificant, right? In 2018, Toyota applied this globally. That 35.1 seconds multiplied across every car they produced equaled nearly 10 years of conserved human labor. 10 years. From a change that took 35 seconds. But the real breakthrough came when researchers understood why this works. When you commit to just 2 minutes of any activity, your brain doesn't activate resistance patterns. No willpower required. No overwhelming sense of commitment. Just start. An anonymous blogger discovered this while struggling with exercise paralysis. Despite endless planning, they had gained 0 muscle and lost countless hours to overthinking. Then they set a timer for 2 minutes of resistance band exercises in their cluttered living room. Even I can do it, they wrote. 2 minutes became their gateway drug to fitness. Some days it stayed at 2 minutes. Other days it exploded into 30-minute sessions. But the magic was in making it so small that failure became impossible. This is why the 2-minute rule rewires your brain for success. It's not about the 2 minutes. It's about proving to your subconscious mind that you're the type of person who follows through. Every 2-minute victory builds evidence that you can be trusted with bigger commitments. Today, Toyota produces over 10 million cars annually, crediting Kaizen and just-in-time methods for their dominance. In 1989, Florida Power & Light became the first non-Japanese company to win the Deming Prize, proving that these principles work across cultures and industries. The philosophy that started with colored screw bins has revolutionized manufacturing through lean production and Six Sigma. But its most powerful application might be the most personal one. Every goal you've abandoned, every habit you've failed to build, every overwhelming project sitting unfinished, they're all waiting for you to make them smaller. The samurai understood this centuries before Toyota existed. They sharpened their swords daily, practiced kata movements in tiny increments, refined their technique through thousands of small repetitions. They knew that mastery comes not from dramatic transformation, but from persistent small perfections. If there's one thing Kaizen teaches us, it's that the path to extraordinary results is paved with ordinary moments. The worker who moved a bin 6 inches closer. The executive who asked for suggestions instead of giving orders. The procrastinator who committed to just 2 minutes. Your brain is already wired for this kind of success. It's not waiting for motivation or inspiration or the perfect moment. It's waiting for you to make the change so small that resistance becomes impossible. What could you start today?